any tribulation. It's true, cause times will change. They don't remain the same. Point blank range, I've seen strain. It come down to frame. Who's to blame? What's the world got in store? Could you talk some more? I don't care what you say, so tell me it's okay. I don't want to know, just don't think about it. Could you reach way down inside of my throat and help me pull out all that's left? And if you get bored, well, okay, you'll never get a second chance. Climbing up the gym rope with my pants falling down, tricks with mirrors and smoke, electronic light show. Let the tea sit around, the basement's not flooding down to my knees, flooding down to my knees. The movement of all the trees, don't let it go away. The milk goes bad today, the expiration date is always in the last place. Pictures fill my world, if anything could swirl the palette that would emphasize your rainbow.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Whew. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Oh, thank you.
Deo. Deo.
Baby's got a burger and a sugar and that shake it won't go down. Baby's got a burger and a sugar and that shake it won't go down. Corrosion to her thighs, erosion of her pride. Baby's got sugar, baby's got corrosion now, corrosion now. Baby's got it.
Greetings and salutations from the mother planet, the mothership, the mother from another brother. Wait a minute, what? Yeah, I'm doing something a little new with the audio here, a little behind the scenes action. Can you guys hear me okay? Can I get a thumbs up if good? Can I get a thumbs down if bad? And a thumb sideways if you don't really give a shit? That helps out a bit. It helps with the algorithm. Great show we had Saturday night. Not so much like what I was doing, but the fact that so many people were out for that. Close to 30 people watching that show on YouTube. And we were on Rumble and Facebook as well. I love Halloween. And October just, Rocktober, I should say, just goes by. Oh, yeah? We're good? Okay, thanks, Chuck. Appreciate you. You know, Rocktober just goes by so quick because you have so much fun there. And we're coming up on November here, Saturday is when we start. And don't forget, Sunday is when we fall back with the clocks. So I know most people have digital devices now that are connected to the internet somehow, and that usually automatically does it. But, you know, you may have one of these old school clock radios or something, and or maybe an old radio in your car or something. Just remember, you get an extra hour of sleep next week, so, or at least next Monday. The rest of the time you're kind of screwed, but hey, it's all good, right? We got, as we said, we got Chuck's Intergalactic UFO Show Intergalactic, another dimension. CBC voter, good to see you, my friend. I hope you're doing well. Willie Bragg show in the house. Willie Bragg, I should start calling you Skinny Bragg. You keep losing that weight like that, mister. Congratulations, Willie. I'm glad something's working for you to help you slim down there. It's not so much for looks, really, is more for health too. Sometimes people can't wear that extra weight in a healthy manner, and so, you know, if you can find a healthy way to get rid of it, that's always good too. So good to see y'all. Crickets on the Rumble. I'm sure we got our lurkers there, as well as Facebook eventually. So yeah, it's Tuesday the 28th, and that means I need to beg for money, you know, because I gotta sell this shit. You know, I love money so much. I once made a woman made out of $100 bills, and I took her to the the justice of the peace, and I said, I love her so much, I want to marry her. And the justice of the peace said, we don't marry humans to currency. Sorry, not sorry. So anyway, so we have to do it the old-fashioned way and sell this shit. It's Desperation Blend Extra Dark Roast Ground Coffee. Once thought to be the remnants of a Krampus bowel movement, this toxic waste substitute will have you filling your jack-o'-lantern with more than just candy, if you know what I'm saying. What's scarier than a ghost or a haunted house? The sounds you'll make once camped out on the toilet for several hours after imbibing this blend from hell. Is money no object? Do you want to increase the self-loathing you endure each day exponentially? Well, then grab a bag of desperation. It's Desperation Blend Extra Dark Roast Ground Coffee, found online and wherever Javier Milei keeps his Donald Trump love letters. Also, remember, use promo code GRIFTER to pay an additional 20% off. Yes. Yes, indeed. So we have news. We have a lot of news. We got a lot of news to get to. So, nothing to it but to do it. We got Hurricane out there, Hurricane Melissa. My sweet Melissa. Pew, pew, pew, pew. Remember that Allman Brothers tune? Well, this ain't so sweet. As Hurricane Melissa nears landfall in Jamaica as the strongest Atlantic storm of the year. Most powerful Atlantic hurricane of 2025 is nearing landfall in Jamaica after days of unleashing heavy rain, strong winds, and pounding surf across the Caribbean. Cat 5 storm is expected to be near peak strength when it roars ashore today. At least 7 fatalities have already been reported across the Caribbean due to the monstrous hurricane, which has been slowly tracking near Haiti, the Dominican Republic, and Jamaica for days. The death toll is likely to rise as Melissa sweeps across Jamaica, eastern Cuba, and the Bahamas. There is no infrastructure in the region that can withstand a Category 5, Prime Minister Andrew Holness said, according to the AP. The question now is the speed of the recovery. That's the challenge. Look at this monster here. This is just incredible. People in Jamaica have not experienced a direct strike from a major hurricane in nearly 40 years, according to AccuWeather Chief Meteorologist Jonathan Porter. Hurricane Gilbert made landfall in 1988 as a Cat 3 storm, moving much faster than Melissa. Conditions deteriorated across Jamaica yesterday and last night as Melissa approached, with mandatory evacuations issued in areas where the worst of the flooding and storm surge were expected. Storm chaser Brandon Clement is in Jamaica and warned that a humanitarian crisis may unfold in the wake of Melissa due to the expected widespread devastation. It's going to take months for things to even begin to resemble normalcy after this, Clement told AccuWeather in an interview. It's just a really bad situation. Melissa intensified to a Cat 5 hurricane yesterday, becoming the 3rd storm of the year to be classified at the top of the Saffir-Simpson hurricane wind scale, joining Erin and Umberto. It went on to become the strongest of the 3, with maximum sustained winds peaking at 185 miles per hour this morning. Another key measure of the hurricane's intensity is the central pressure, or the atmospheric pressure at the core of the eye. On Monday night, Melissa's pressure dropped to 26.34 inches of mercury. That's 892 millibars, making it the 3rd most intense Caribbean hurricane ever observed. So there's your list right there of intensity in millibars there. So the lower the pressure, the more intense it is. At the outer bands there, you see, there's Melissa right there. Remember Wilma from 2005, Gilbert there, Mitch from 98, Dean in 2007, and then Maria back in 2017. Melissa is also the 3rd strongest hurricane in terms of pressure anywhere across the Atlantic during October, behind Wilma and Milton. So the combination of Melissa's strength and sluggish pace has amplified the danger for Jamaica and the surrounding islands. The significant danger posed by Melissa is made even worse due to its record slow forward speed. An exclusive AccuWeather analysis of hurricanes since 1971 in the same area of the Caribbean as Melissa shows that Melissa's average forward speed so far in this region is just 4.6 miles per hour. Yikes. which is the slowest on record. That means it's a slow churner. AccuWeather Senior Director of Forecast Operations Dan DePodwin explained, after devastating Jamaica, Melissa is forecast to strike eastern Cuba before sweeping across part of the Bahamas as a hurricane before potentially impacting Bermuda, Atlantic Canada, and Europe. So, here's where it is right now, if we can get to it. So this is where she is right now, currently at 175 miles per hour, just southwest of Jamaica. When they mention landfall with a hurricane, they're not talking about the bands. They're talking about when the actual eye of the hurricane hits land. So, Desert Mantis, good morning. Greetings to you. And Wesley, good to see you, my friend. Hope you guys are doing okay. Just doing a little weather action here as we zoom out here. This is on zoom.earth, so you can look at this for yourself. Where are we seeing weather up here? Looks like Willie's getting his in his neck of the woods. He's getting a little bit of a drench up there in North Carolina. So this thing is projected to move northeast, like they said, cross Jamaica and eastern Cuba and head out towards Bermuda, and then just basically doing like I can't remember what that hurricane was a while back, but it was same thing. It was going this way. Because if it ends up changing course and going into the Gulf, that's going to be a bad scene, because of all this water down here in the Gulf is much hotter than it is in the Caribbean, because you're getting a mix of the Gulf and the cold the cold Atlantic Ocean. So it's still warm, but it's not as warm as these waters here. That's why when you see a hurricane go into the Gulf of Mexico, that's crazy time, and then it's usually pretty wild. So we'll be keeping an eye on that. Guess we'll see where it is. I think by Friday, the next time we do a show, it should be up here, just east of Virginia, here in the Atlantic. So hopefully our friends in Cuba and Jamaica and the Bahamas, we hope you guys are safe. Like they said, this one's going to be a bad one, and we need some positive vibes for our peeps down there. So hurricane's no good. Been through a few of them myself. Not that great. You just left a slow churner in the toilet. Oh my, I know. No doubt, my friend. Been there, done that. Got the t-shirt. Hello. Why are you doing this? Don't be like that. So we got more news for you. Venezuela, they're expecting fuckery. As Venezuela says, CIA-linked mercenaries caught during a false flag attack. Uh-oh. Yeah, Trump's not going to be able to get away with false flag shit. No, because nobody's going to believe it. Nobody's going to believe it. The cultists and the stupid people might. But regular-ass people who've been following the news, at least the independent news, they're not going to believe this. So, Steve Wolfram, what's up, buddy? Good morning to you. The government of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro said Sunday that his country's security forces captured a group of mercenaries aligned with the U.S. Central Intelligence Agency. That's the CIA to you and me. Less than 2 weeks after Trump confirmed his authorization of covert CIA action against the South American nation. See, Trump, if you're going to do a secret CIA thing, you probably shouldn't tell people. I'm not saying, I'm just saying. Venezuela reports that it has captured a mercenary group with direct information from the CIA, being able to determine that a false flag attack is underway from waters bordering Trinidad and Tobago or from Trinidad or Venezuelan territory itself, the Venezuelan government said in a statement. This planned action perfectly evokes the provocation of the battleship Maine and the Gulf of Tonkin, which gave rise to the war against Spain to seize Cuba in 1898 and allowed the U.S. Congress to authorize involvement in an eternal war against Vietnam in 1964, from which they emerged defeated by the Vietnamese people after facing incalculable destruction and regrettable human loss, the statement continues. The government of Prime Minister Kamala Persad-Bissessar has renounced the sovereignty of Trinidad and Tobago to act as a military colony subordinate to U.S. hegemonic interests, turning its territory into a U.S. aircraft carrier for war throughout the Caribbean against Venezuela, Colombia, and all of South America, Caracas asserted, Caracas being the capital of Venezuela. The statement continues, by folding to Washington's militaristic agenda, Persad-Bissessar not only intends to attack Venezuela, a country that has always maintained a policy of energy cooperation, mutual respect, and Caribbean integration, and break our historic bonds of brotherhood, she also violates the UN Charter, the Proclamation of Latin America, and the Caribbean as a zone of peace approved by the Community of Latin American and Caribbean States, and the principles of the Caribbean community which protect all peoples in the Caribbean. Caribbean, Caribbean, Caribbean, Caribbean. And say it a few more times. Go say it one more time. These are not defensive exercises. This is a colonial operation of military aggression that seeks to turn the Caribbean into a space for lethal violence and U.S. imperial domination. Venezuela does not accept threats from any vassal government of the U.S. We are not intimidated by military exercises or war cries, the statement says, adding that the country will always defend its sovereignty, its territorial integrity, and its right to live in peace against foreign enemies and their vassals. And guess what? You can't spell vassals without ass. Venezuela's accusation came amid joint military exercises between the U.S. and TNT. I'm just calling them TNT. That's a lot to say. In the Caribbean Sea, and follows a string of deadly U.S. attacks on vessels the Trump administration claimed, without evidence, of course, we're transporting them drugs bound for the U.S. According to the Trump administration, at least 43 people have been killed in the U.S. boat strikes in the Southern Caribbean and Pacific Ocean since early last month. Well, getting the Pacific, too. TNT challenged Venezuela to provide proof of the alleged false flag operation and said the joint military operation with the U.S. aims to bolster the fight against transnational crime and build resilience through training, humanitarian activities. That's so precious. And security cooperation. Those cucks. The Trump administration, which has already deployed an armada of warships and thousands of troops to the Southern Caribbean, said Friday that it ordered the USS Gerald R. Ford, oh boy, he could have sent that carrier group off the coast of Venezuela, which possesses the world's largest oil reserves. Yeah. And Trump even said it in his first term. He said, we want the oil. He was saying that about Syria, but, you know, he's saying that about Venezuela, too. U.S. has been meddling in Venezuelan affairs since at least the late 19th century, going back to the 1895 border dispute between Venezuela and Britain. Since then, the United States has helped install and prop up brutal dictators and assisted in the subversion of democratic movements, including by training Venezuelan forces in torture and repression at the notorious U.S. Army School of the Americas. Yeah, I got my associate's degree there for woodworking. In the 21st century, successive U.S. administrations, beginning with George W. Bush, had tried to thwart the Bolivian revolution that was launched by former President Hugo Chavez and continued under Maduro. During the first Trump administration, Venezuela foiled an attempt by a group of mercenaries, including 2 Americans, to invade the country and topple Maduro. So they've seen this show before with the mercenaries sneaking in. They know what's up. Tens of thousands of Venezuelans have also died as a result of U.S. economic sanctions, according to research from the Center for Economic and Policy Research. And these propagandists will tell you, oh, well, socialism and communism, that's what's destroying them. No, it's not what's destroying Venezuela. It's these fucking sanctions against these countries, Cuba included. That's take away the sanctions. Let them cook, as the kids say, and let's see what happens. You'll see a lot of shit that's popular that people around the world will be like, hey, why don't we do that here? And these capitalists are like, no, thank you. Taunting the Venezuelan president during a Sunday appearance on CBS 60 Minutes, Human Snake and Senator Rick Scott out of Florida said, "If I was Maduro, I'd head to Russia or China right now." However, senior Venezuelan officials waxed defiant in the face of the latest U.S. threat. Once again, the empire and its accomplices seek to bend the sovereign will of the Venezuelan people through a criminal economic siege that flagrantly violates the charter of the UN and international humanitarian law. Venezuelan Foreign Minister Ivan Gil Pinto said Monday, that was yesterday, "These actions are not only illegal, they are an unconventional act of war that we are determined to face and defeat in all scenarios." So Maduro and the gang, yeah, they, like I said, this is not their first rodeo. They've done this. They've dealt with Trump before, and they've already said they've amassed millions of people. That could be propaganda too. Let's see. I mean, that could be propaganda too. Of course, a leader's going to say you got more people ready to go than you probably do, just to try and scare off people. But who knows? Maybe he's like, no, we're not bluffing. we have plenty of people to do this. So much love to our comrades down there in Venezuela. Finger man. What are you doing here so early? I'm busting your balls head. Don't worry about it. We're all good there. Good to see you, Finger Man. Staying in South America, Javier Milei wins high-stakes Argentina elections. He wasn't up for election, but his party was. Shockingly, they won. But we'll see how this works. Argentinian President Javier Milei's party has pulled off a stunning win in legislative elections, boosting his ability to push forward with his overhaul of the economy, including free market reforms and more deep austerity measures. In the elections, widely seen as a referendum on Milei's performance in office, his La Libertad Avanza party won more than 40% of the vote in Sunday's elections, compared with 31% for the left-leaning Peronist opposition movement. The midterm elections were the first national test of Milei's support since he won office 2 years ago, and will help him maintain the support of Trump, whose administration recently provided Argentina with a hefty financial bailout, around $40 billion, but has threatened to pull away if the libertarian leader did not do well. Let's look at that for a second. So, if his party didn't do well, then Trump was going to pull the money, right? And knowing what a scumbag Milei is, chances are there was some fuckery afoot. Just a theory. At La Libertad Avanza's headquarters on Sunday, Milei hailed the party's victory as a turning point for the country and promised to charge ahead with his reforms. Beaming as his supporters cheered, he seized on the results as evidence that Argentina had turned the page on decades of Peronism, which he said had brought the country infamy for repeatedly defaulting on its sovereign debt. The Argentinian people left decadence behind and opted for progress, Milei said, thanking all those who supported the ideas of freedom to make Argentina great again. Oh my God, MAGA. Argentine MAGA. Half of the seats in the lower chamber of deputies, or 127 seats, and 1/3 of the upper Senate, or 24 seats, were up for grabs. Milei said his party has now tripled its seat count, winning 101 seats in the lower house, up from 37, and 20 seats in the Senate, up from 6. The most surprising results were in Buenos Aires province, where Milei's party clawed its way back from defeat in last month's local elections to run neck and neck with the Peronists. The province has long been a political stronghold for the Peronists, and the win from Milei's party marked a dramatic political shift. Or there's a whole bunch of people drinking the Kool-Aid. The strong showing ensures Milei will have enough support in Congress to uphold presidential vetoes, prevent an impeachment effort, and see through his ambitious plans for tax and labor reforms in the coming months. To support Milei, the Trump administration offered a bailout potentially worth $40 billion, as we said, including a $20 billion currency swap, which is already signed, and a proposed $20 billion debt investment facility. Meanwhile, Alaska might get $20 million for all the devastation that's up there. We'll tell you about that later. Trump had threatened to pull the support if his populist ally performed poorly, warning, if he doesn't win, we're not going to waste our time because you have somebody whose philosophy has no chance of making Argentina great again. Hey, we can't do it. Not gonna do it. Sorry, that's Bush Sr. As Al Jazeera's Teresa Bo reporting from Buenos Aires said Trump's interest in Malay may have influenced the decisions of some of the voters. Certainly, the United States played a crucial role in the last stage leading to this election. She said people here listen, and in a way it may have convinced many to vote for Javier Milei's party. Oh, look at that. The outside influence of a foreign country. Where have we seen that before? The results were a surprise, she said, after the president's party lost by 14 points in the province of Buenos Aires last month to the Peronist opposition after one of the harshest austerity plans in this country's history. Analysts said the stronger than expected showing could reflect fear of renewed economic turmoil if the country abandoned Milei's policies, which, while painful at times, have succeeded in drastically slowing inflation. Yeah. $40 billion doesn't buy an election like it used to. Gustavo Cordoba, the director of the Zubin Cordoba polling firm, told the Reuters news agency that he was shocked by the results and thought they reflected public wariness over a possible return to the economic crisis of past governments. That's and that's how they scare people with communism, right? They always point to the bread lines in Russia during the 70s and 80s and go, see, that's what communism looks like. That's not, well, not, yeah. Many people were willing to give the government another chance, he said. We'll see how much time Argentine society gives the Argentine government, but the triumph is unquestionable. Milei, an ideological ally of Trump who has slashed state spending and liberalized what? I thought he was Argentina's economy after decades of budget deficits and protectionism has a lot riding on Sunday's elections. Milei's government has been scrambling to avert a currency crisis ever since the defeat by the Peronist opposition last month panicked markets and prompted a sell-off in the peso, a move that led to the U.S. Treasury's extraordinary intervention with the $20 billion buyout of the pesos. A series of scandals, including bribery allegations against Milei's powerful sister, Karina Milei, hurt the president's image as an anti-corruption crusader and hit a nerve among voters reeling from his harsh austerity measures. Although the budget cuts have significantly driven down inflation from an annual high of 289% in April last year to 32% last month, many Argentinians are still struggling to make ends meet. Price rises have outpaced salaries and pensions since Milei cut cost of living increases. Households pay more for electricity and public transport since Milei cut subsidies. The unemployment rate is now higher than when the Libertarian president took office. But hey, inflation's down, right? Inflation's down, y'all. But everything else is up, right? Back here at home, U.S. judge asks for assurance Abrego Garcia won't be deported to Liberia. We told you about this story about Kilmar Abrego Garcia. A federal judge in the U.S. has requested assurances from the administration of Trump that officials will not deport Abrego Garcia while an injunction barring his deportation remains in place. The demand from District Judge Paul Zinnis on Monday comes after U.S. ICE officials filed a notice last week of a plan to deport Abrego Garcia to the West African nation of Liberia. Why there? Who knows? She asked why the government is not instead deporting Abrego Garcia to Costa Rica, a Salvadorian man living in the United States, where he has said is willing to go because the government there has promised he would be welcomed as a legal immigrant and not re-deported to El Salvador. Any insight you can shed on why we're continuing this hearing when you could deport him to a third country tomorrow? Zinnis asked government lawyers. I said axed. Abrego Garcia was wrongfully deported to El Salvador by the Trump administration in March in violation of a 2019 court order barring him from being sent back to his homeland. He was returned to the U.S. under a judge's order in June, but swiftly charged with human smuggling in Tennessee. He's seeking dismissal of that case. Administration officials have repeatedly accused Abrego Garcia of being a member of the MS-13 gang, a claim that has never been proven in court. What? Trump? No proof? How about that? Abrego Garcia's lawyers have said he's being targeted for political retribution. Responding to the plan to deport Abrego Garcia to Liberia, lawyer Simon Sandoval Moshenberg called the move cruel and unconstitutional. He noted that Abrego Garcia has no ties to the country. The Trump administration has reportedly sought to deport individuals unable to be sent to their homelands to so-called third countries. Advocacy groups have argued that the deportations violate due process rights and that immigrants are being sent to countries with long histories of human rights violations. Abrego Garcia has separately applied for asylum in the U.S. So that saga continues with him. And that's the thing. They keep doing this deportation thing, and more scare tactics, trying to get people to be afraid. Has nothing to do with illegal immigration or illegal immigrants with criminal backgrounds. Has nothing to do with that. More criminals, this time Amazon. Hey, see what it did. Amazon to cut 30,000 jobs in largest layoff in company history. So Amazon is preparing to carry out its largest round of layoffs since the company's founding, with tens of thousands of employees expected to lose their jobs this week, according to reports from CNBC and Reuters. A source familiar with the plans told CNBC that the company will begin notifying affected staff through internal emails as early as today. The individual who spoke on condition of anonymity said the details remain confidential, but described the cuts as extensive. According to Reuters, the layoffs could affect up to 30,000 corporate employees, nearly 10% of Amazon's 350,000 person corporate workforce, and span nearly all major departments, including human resources, operations, devices, and cloud services. They may not want to cut people from their cloud services after the AWS fuckery last week. Just saying. The cuts come as the retail and cloud computing giant seeks to streamline its structure and redirects resources toward higher growth areas such as artificial intelligence and logistics. Yes. I was talking to my buddy Ed about this yesterday. It's ironic that Amazon putting people out of business. Now their own employees are getting the axe because of artificial intelligence. And the remaining workers are gonna get squeezed. Exactly. Amazon CEO Andy Jassy, and you can't spell Jassy without ass, had previously warned in June that the company expected to see its corporate workforce shrink as we get efficiency gains from using AI extensively across the company, meaning we're replacing your ass with AI. Analysts say this round of layoffs reflects that long-term shift as Amazon pushes for automation and efficiency following rapid overhiring during the pandemic. The move follows a series of technical failures earlier this month involving Amazon Web Services, we told you about that, which caused widespread outages that disrupted Amazon's own platform, as well as major services including Roblox and Canva. The disruptions were reported across the U.S., Germany, and the Netherlands. Despite the cuts on the corporate side, Amazon plans to hire around 250,000 seasonal workers in the United States for the holiday season to bolster fulfillment and logistics operations. So that would be, I would assume that would be their sales agents that or their tech support and also their physical presence in the distribution centers as well. Amazon has not yet issued an official statement on the layoffs, but market observers view the move as part of a broader cost-cutting strategy amid slowing growth, mounting competition in cloud services, and efforts to stabilize infrastructure following recent disruptions. More AI, they say. Yeah, so I bet those people at Amazon, they thought, learn how to code. This guy learn how to code. Wait, what? Huh? Me? Yeah. Speaking of fuckery, if you got a Gmail account, you might want to change your password. Why? Because Gmail accounts among millions of passwords stolen in data breach. Bleep bloop. Some 183 million email accounts, including millions of Gmail users, are reportedly among a massive data breach. A website that lets users check if their email accounts have been compromised, we'll show you that here in a second, exposed the data leak affecting addresses and matching passwords, which it said occurred in April of this year. Hey, we don't want no toys over. You better get the hang on, dang on, ding on, dang, dang, ding on, ding dong. The website Have I Been Pwned? HIBP is a free data leak search engine developed by an Australian white hat hacker. Don't actually wear a white hat. That just means, it supposedly means he's a good hacker. I guess that's what that means. The website's creator, Troy Hunt, told the Daily Mail that the leak doesn't just affect Gmail users, but all other accounts such as those in Outlook and Yahoo. If you're still using that Yahoo mail, better watch out. They're from everywhere you can imagine, but Gmail always features heavily, Hunt said. Data from the recent breach was added to HIBP on October 21st with the assistance of threat intelligence service Scythian. That doesn't sound dystopian. According to a Forbes report, Scythian monitored InfoStealer malware across the course of nearly a year and provided the data to HIBP. Can you imagine taking this sentence, go back like maybe 200, 300 years, go back to where the pilgrims got here, and just tell them that sentence and see what the hell they say. Like, what dost thou talketh about? Thou speaketh fuckery. It reportedly sent a total of 3.5 terabytes of data to HIBP. Passwords that were also associated with the affected email addresses are also included in the breach, according to the website. To see if you were affected by the breach, you can enter your email in the search bar of HIBP's website. Click on the check button. It will then display the number of breaches affecting your account. If your account has been affected, it will then show a timeline of when the breach occurred and information of what was stolen. So here it is right here. This is the website here. Hang on just a second. We can do a little something here. I'll put this in the old chatteroony. So you'll have it. Yeah, just check out. You can just put your if you have a Gmail account. Why am I doing that? Hang on a second. Fuckery. There we go. Let's try that. So that's the website right there. The Have I Been Pwned? I didn't know. I always thought it said pound, but that means something else, obviously. Yeah, check that out there if you want to see if you've been hacked. One of my emails was hacked. One of my one I don't use anymore, hardly. It got hacked, but it's okay. I only use it for porn sites and and fuckery. I do my own fuckery, but not on the people, on the ones who deserve it. You know, we still got that government shutdown going on there, the old thing there where nothing's going on there thing with the thing. Nearly 3,800 U.S. flights disrupted amid ongoing government shutdown. Shutdown, summer in the city, back of my neck feeling dirty and gritty. Nearly 3,800 flights across the U.S. were either delayed or canceled yesterday as the ongoing government shutdown, now entering its fourth week, continues to disrupt operations, according to data from FlightAware.com. You just take it for granted. Yeah, me too. The ones I actually used were okay. Thank goodness. WHEW. But that one I used for fuckery, yeah, I totally deserve that. The portal reported that total delays within, into, or out of the U.S. today reached 3,658, adding that another 119 flights have also been canceled. Nearly 100 flights were delayed or canceled at New York's JFK International Airport, while in Atlanta, Passengers on more than 500 flights experienced delays. And in Charlotte, over 200 flights were also affected. U.S. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy said Monday that air traffic controllers will stop receiving pay on October 28th. I got a feeling this happened last time. They're going to be calling in sick. Warning earlier that passengers could face delays and cancellations if Congress fails to pass a spending bill to end the shutdown. The new U.S. fiscal year began October 1st, but Congress did not approve a budget, leaving the government unable to operate. Earlier on October 26th, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, I think it's Bessent, said that U.S. military personnel will miss paychecks by November 15th if the government shutdown continues. Now you're fucking with the military. And the military's on the streets right now. Well, that's the National Guard, but, if, and this is what, everybody talks about, like, when shit goes down and these rich people are going to go to their bunkers, who's going to protect them? You think these underpaid military people or private security are going to do anything? No. They're going to be like, yeah, go ahead and take them. You can have them. I think we'll be able to pay them beginning in November, but by November 15th, our troops and service members who are willing to risk their lives are not going to be able to get paid, Bessent told CBS News. Building on these concerns, U.S. Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna, she's the UFO lady, if you know who that was, said the government shutdown could extend until the end of November, noting, I am hearing that we potentially might not be back until even around the Thanksgiving timeframe or after that, in remarks to Fox News. House Speaker and animate thumbnail Mike Johnson warned on October 14th that the shutdown could become the longest in U.S. history as he refused to negotiate with Democrats until they agreed to reopen federal operations. So the fuckery is spread around all around. The blame for the fuckery, that is. We're barreling toward one of the longest shutdowns in American history, said Johnson, a Louisiana Republican speaking from the Capitol, reiterating that talks would only resume once Democrats hit pause on their health care demands and reopen the government. And I read somewhere that Republicans have their own health care plan. And I'm thinking to myself, well, that's what the Affordable Care Act is. That's a Republican health care plan. So you're going to do another Republican health care plan? Come on, please. We were telling you about Alaska and the fuckery there as Trump's delay of funds. FEMA staffing cuts hindered Alaska flood response. A nearly week-long funding delay by Trump, as well as cuts to federal weather forecasting personnel, likely exacerbated the devastation caused by the historic storm that hit Alaska earlier this month, a report from The Guardian revealed on Monday. On October 12th, the Yukon Kuskokwim Delta, a remote area in southwestern Alaska, which is home to about 20,000 Yupik Alaska natives, was hit by one of the worst storms in its history, one that Rick Thoman, a meteorologist and climate expert at the University of Alaska, Fairbanks, explains was caused by the remnants of a typhoon likely fueled by the Pacific's near-record warm surface temperature this fall. More than 2,000 people have now been forced to evacuate the region, with hundreds now taking shelter in a sports stadium on the University of Alaska Anchorage's campus after being airlifted to safety by the Alaska National Guard. According to Governor Mike Dunleavy, it could be more than 18 months before the survivors are able to return due to the severity of the damage. On October 16th, Dunleavy sent a request for Trump to issue a federal disaster declaration, which would free up around $25 million from FEMA. That money would be used to clear debris, carry out protection and rescue operations, and shield roads, bridges, and other infrastructure from damage. It would also distribute funds to survivors of the storm to help them rebuild their homes. Well, that blows. Because it's a leaf blower. It would also distribute funds to survivors of the storm to help them rebuild their homes and lives in the aftermath of the disaster. This incident is of such severity and magnitude that effective response is beyond the capabilities of the state and affected local governments, and that supplementary federal assistance is necessary to save lives, protect property, public health, and safety, or to lessen or avert the threat of a disaster, the request said. Senator Dan Sullivan, a Republican out of Alaska, wrote in a follow-up to Dunleavy's request the following day, with winter fast approaching and transportation and broadband connectivity limited, there is an urgent need for federal aid to repair housing, restore utilities, and secure heating fuel before severe winter conditions set in. Trump would not approve the request until October 22nd, keeping the essential funding frozen for nearly a full week. As the wait went on, Dr. Samantha Montano, a professor of emergency management at the Massachusetts Maritime Academy, wrote on social media that the delay was directly keeping funding out of the hands of disaster survivors who need it. This disaster is of a severity that the request would have normally been signed within a day of receiving a governor's request, Montano added. Not doing so is a deeply alarming departure from what Americans have come to expect from the federal government in times of disaster. Cowboy Kitty, sweet baby Kitty. What's up, Kitty? Good to see you. You on the road there, pal? You trucking today? If you are, I hope you're safe. I hope you're safe either way. And well, we'll tell you here in a sec. It's not the first time this year that the Trump administration, which has announced its goal to phase out FEMA, has been met with scrutiny for a delayed disaster response. When a flood devastated Texas this year, resulting in at least 138 deaths, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem waited for more than 3 days to authorize funds for the battered region, which delayed the critical work of search and rescue teams and aerial surveillance of the damage. The ability to warn residents was also reportedly hindered by the firing of National Weather Service employees. Meanwhile, the firing of FEMA contractors left thousands of phone calls from survivors unanswered. Oh, you're on the road? All right, be safe, brother. According to The Guardian, Trump's cuts may have played a similar role in Alaska as a result of mass layoffs at the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, that's NOAA, by Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE. That brilliant move. The agency was forced to adopt a state of degraded operations, which included canceling weather balloon launches from many of its most remote offices, including in Alaska. Dearman noted that many of the areas impacted by the storm had not seen any weather balloon tests for several days or even months, which may have resulted in the storm's path remaining unclear until less than a day and a half before it crossed into Alaskan waters, which he said was too late for evacuations in many places. The lack of information would have made forecasting more difficult for meteorologists who are already overloaded as a result of staffing cuts. The National Weather Service's Alaska region's 200-person workforce was slashed by over 10% earlier this year. One meteorologist who requested anonymity told The Guardian that we are understaffed and that it seems like there is more on all our plates with the staffing shortages. Dearman also said other cuts may have impacted the ability to warn residents about the impending storm. He noted that KYUK, the public radio station in the region's largest town, had lost 70% of its funding last month when the Trump administration stripped funding from the CPB, the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. Notably, Trump eventually signed off on disaster aid for Alaska and has done the same for other Republican-led states like Nebraska, North Dakota, and Missouri. However, without explanation, he has denied the same funding to blue states, including Maryland, Vermont, and Illinois, leading to accusations that he is politicizing disaster aid. Wait a minute. He is the politicizing disaster aid. But Alaska, one of the front lines of the climate crisis, has hardly been spared. In addition to the beleaguered federal response, the administration also canceled a $20 million EPA grant in May that was intended to protect the Alaska native village of Kipnik from coastal flooding and erosion caused by rising sea levels. It referred to the program as no longer consistent with agency priorities, with EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin calling it an example of wasteful DEI, that's diversity, equity, and inclusion, and environmental justice grants. For months now, Kipnik became engulfed in over 6 feet of water, and about 90% of the homes and structures there were destroyed. Nearly all of its residents were evacuated. The village may never be rebuilt. $20 million to Alaska, and it made them wait for it. You know? Yeah, and that's what they've been doing. You can't do anything. You can't send out the money until it's approved by NOAA. And you know, this hubris is going to get people killed. Across the Arctic there from Alaska, we have Russia. This was a poor attempt at a segue. Wasteful environmental justice, yeah, sure is. Wasteful all around. Trump responds to Russian missile tests. We have a nuclear submarine right off their shores. Following Russia's successful test of a new nuclear-powered cruise missile, Trumpy warned that the U.S. has a nuclear-armed submarine just off the Russian coast. They know we have a nuclear submarine, the greatest in the world, right off their shores, Trump told reporters on Monday. It doesn't have to go 8,000 miles. We added that. He added that. I almost just kept going. He added that Russia is not playing games with us. We're not playing games with them either. We test missiles all the time. Yeah, but you ain't got these missiles. The president's remarks followed Moscow's announcement of the successful test of the nuclear-powered Burevestnik cruise missile. Russian officials said the missile traveled 8,700 miles and had a flight time of 15 hours. The Burevestnik, or what NATO has dubbed Skyfall, is capable of carrying nuclear warheads. The missile test and threat from Trump come at a low point in U.S.-Russian relations. Moscow, that said Moscow. Who wrote this? Was this Kyle? Yeah. Kyle writing Moscow. He meant Moscow. Moscow and Washington are engaged in a proxy war in Ukraine. And I'm sure Moscow and Washington have no love lost either. Washington has imposed sweeping sanctions on Moscow, reducing trade between the U.S. and Russia. Additionally, the U.S. has scrapped most of its arms control agreements with Russia. The only existing pact limiting the nuclear arsenals of the world's nuclear superpowers is New START, and it will expire in February of next year. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov argued the Burevestnik should not further deteriorate the U.S.-Russian relationship. There is nothing here that could or should further strain relations between Moscow and Washington, especially since they're already at minimum, he said. So far, the first tentative steps have been taken to bring these relations out of previous state of stagnation. Following a phone call between Trump and Putin this month, the American leader announced that he would hold a summit with his Russian counterpart in Hungary. However, lower-level talks failed to make progress, and the White House scrapped the meeting. Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Mikhail Galuzin told reporters on Monday, Ukraine is not responsible to our initiatives, avoiding dialogue. Nothing has changed, he said. Funny, sounds just like Peskov. That's a crazy... Do they all sound like that? That's crazy. I only have one Russian accent, so... I could do woman accent, but neither one of them was woman, and it sounds like I'm man doing falsetto voice. Speaking of Putin, he met with top North Korean diplomat, says ties developing as planned. So there they are. That's the lady right there, if you can get this thing out of the way. Russia's President Vladimir Putin has met North Korea's Foreign Minister Cho Son-hu in the latest high-level agreement between the two countries, which have strengthened ties during the Ukraine war. Footage released by Russian state news agencies shows Putin greeting Cho in the Kremlin on Monday. Russia's top diplomat Sergei Lavrov also appeared at the meeting. Putin said that the country's relations and development prospects are progressing according to plan and extended regards to North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, according to Russia's Sputnik news agency. Cho, in turn, passed on warm wishes from Kim, having earlier praised the spiritual closeness of the two nations' relationship in talks with Lavrov. Russia and North Korea, both under extensive Western sanctions, have significantly bolstered ties in recent years, including signing a 2024 defense pact committing each country to provide military support to the other in event of aggression. Since then, North Korea has sent around 10,000 troops to join Russia's war against Ukraine, at least 600 of whom have died in combat, according to estimates from Seoul and Kiev. Pyongyang first acknowledged its soldiers' involvement in the war in April, saying they helped Russia retake its strategic Kursk region after Ukrainian counteroffensive. Several days ago, hey, P-Stuff, what's going on? It is Taco Tuesday. Good morning. Several days ago, Kim held a ceremony marking the opening of a museum in Pyongyang to honor the North Korean troops killed in the conflict. He said their development marked the beginning of a new history of militant solidarity with Russia, with which there is an invincible alliance. See, Trump's bringing people together. He's just not the people he expected, I think. Putin last met Kim in person on September 3rd in Beijing, where the leaders held official talks after attending a military parade hosted by China's President Xi Jinping. At the time, Putin praised North Korean soldiers for fighting courageously and heroically in the Ukraine war. I would like to note that we will never forget the sacrifices that your armed forces and the families of your servicemen have suffered, Putin said. The deepening Russia-North Korea relationship has drawn concern from the U.S., which says there is evidence that Russia is increasing technology support for North Korea, including in space and satellite programs. After Putin and Kim's September meeting, U.S. President Donald Trump claimed they were conspiring against the U.S., a statement dismissed by the Kremlin. So, which, I mean, they don't really have to admit it or not that if they were conspiring, they're both getting sanctioned by the United States. So it's like, you know, it makes strange bedfellows politics does, I guess, in this case. What's up, Pittsburgh, dude? Remember when Kim and Putin drove together to make out? They were in that boat together, right? Didn't they have a boat ride together? That was romantic. No, that was Putin and Xi Jinping. Sorry, they were in the boat together. Yeah, they did. They drove together. They drove in that car. Remember, it was like comrades instead of comedians in cars getting coffee. It was comrades in cars getting coffee. They had like the dash cam and everything. It was so weird. Meanwhile, Voldemort Zelensky, I must break you. Zelensky says Ukraine working to expand long-range strikes inside Mother Russia. So if they got these 8,700-mile missiles that Russia has, they want a piece too. Zelensky said yesterday that Ukraine was working to expand long-range attacks inside Russia with a focus on targeting oil refineries. Zelensky said he held a meeting with arms manufacturers that produce long-range weapons. We reviewed the effectiveness of our long-range strikes over a defined period and the results achieved, he wrote on the tweeters. Russian oil refining is already paying a tangible price for the war and will pay even more. We set tasks to expand the geography for the use of our long-range capabilities, the Ukrainian leader added. So far, the U.S. has denied Zelensky's request for Tomahawk missiles, which are nuclear capable and have a range of over 1,000 miles. But according to media reports, the U.S. has been helping Ukraine with strikes deep inside Russia, including its drone attacks on Russian energy infrastructure. Earlier this month, the Financial Times reported that the U.S. has been providing intelligence for the drone attacks, and one source told the paper that Ukraine's drone force is the instrument the U.S. is using to achieve the goal of undermining the Russian economy and pushing Russian President Vladimir Putin towards a settlement to end the war. The U.S. has also imposed new sanctions on Russian oil companies. Trump recently denied a report that said the U.S. approved Ukrainian missile strikes inside Russia, but Ukraine's military recently claimed that it used British-provided Storm Shadow missiles, which require U.S. targeting data in a strike on a Russian chemical plant. Please give me nuclear missile and cocaine. You always gotta get the cocaine in the mix. That fucking Ukrainian Scarface. While vowing to expand attacks inside Russia, Ukraine continues to lose territory in the battle in eastern Ukraine, where Russian forces have recently entered the city of Pokrovsk in the Donetsk Oblast. Russia's demands for a peace deal includes Ukraine ceding Donetsk and the sliver of territory it controls in Luhansk, an offer President Trump has reportedly told Zelensky to accept, to which he replied,
And cocaine, yes, I'll get cocaine too. I want that cocaine. I cannot express enough how much cocaine I need. I need all the cocaine.
So turning to the Middle East and the stabilization of Gaza, stabilization in air quotes, as hostile Turkey will not take part in those stabilization forces, according to Israel. Israeli Foreign Minister Gideon Sa'ar said yesterday that Tel Aviv will not let Turkey contribute troops to an international force that is supposed to be deployed to Gaza as part of Washington's ceasefire plan. Countries that want or are ready to send armed forces should be at least fair to Israel, the foreign minister said at a news conference in the Hungarian capital, Budapest. In other words, if you're not kissing our ass, we don't want you here. Turkey, led by Erdogan, led a hostile approach against Israel, so it's not reasonable for us to let their armed forces enter the Gaza Strip, and we will not agree to that, and we said it to our American friends, he added. His comment came days after U.S. Secretary of State Aquaman said Israel must be comfortable with the countries that participate in the force. The U.S. has held talks with a number of states, including Egypt, Qatar, the UAE, Turkey, Indonesia, and Azerbaijan, for the multinational force which the U.S.-backed ceasefire deal says must be deployed to the Gaza Strip. According to recent reports in Hebrew media, Israel is concerned that a Turkish and Qatari presence in Gaza could help bolster Hamas and maintain its influence in the Strip. Another Israeli media report from this month said Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and Bahrain fully back Israel's demand for Hamas's disarmament and have signaled their potential withdrawal from the ceasefire process if the group does not surrender its weapons. The report says the Gulf states are frustrated with Turkish and Qatari leniency on Hamas's weapons. Israel newspaper Yedioth Ahronoth reported on Sunday that the forces will make up the stabilization force, as it is called in the full U.S. plan, are expected to come from Indonesia, Azerbaijan, and Pakistan. Despite the commitments in the signed agreement, Israeli security assessments shared during a security briefing with the Knesset Foreign Affairs and Defense Committee estimate that Hamas will not hand over its weapons, the report added. And they said they wouldn't hand over their weapons unless there was like a full withdrawal, I believe. And that's not going to happen. Israel Hayom had previously reported that Bibi has ruled out any Turkish or Qatari involvement in Gaza's post-war administration, calling such participation a red line. Qatar and Turkey have long provided Hamas with political support, hosting the resistance movement's offices in Doha and Istanbul, respectively. Ankara has been highly vocal about the Israeli genocide in Gaza. However, Turkey has secretly maintained trade ties with Israel despite a ban announced by the country last year. See? Turkey's shady as hell. Turkish citizens have also been among those at the forefront of global pro-Palestine protest movements. The Turkish government has recently played a role in mediation and is seeking involvement in post-war Gaza efforts. Turkey is said to be part of an international team of specialists tasked with helping to locate dead Israeli captives. So they said, chicken for me, no turkey. These jokes. So meanwhile, Hamas is getting their shit together as Hamas's Haya says factions agree on a post-war Gaza governance framework. And this guy said, is it Haya or is it Haya? The leader of Hamas's Gaza branch, Khalil al-Hayya, has said that the movement has reached an agreement with Palestinian factions, including Fatah, on the framework of post-war governance. We told you about they were going to set up this meeting. They set up this meeting last week, and now they've actually had it. In an interview with Al Jazeera on Sunday, Hayya confirmed that Hamas had agreed to a list presented of national figures with no political affiliation to form a committee to manage Gaza's affairs. He stated that Hamas is ready to hand over full control, including security, to the committee. Hayya also emphasized that Hamas has no objections to any national figure residing in Gaza taking charge of the administration. He added that Hamas would not interfere in the committee's work, but called for its swift establishment. The committee's mandate would end when general elections are held or a Palestinian unity government is formed, he said. He added that Hamas aims to work towards elections as a way to reunite the Palestinian people under a single government. Meanwhile, Fatah, Hamas's main political rival, denied agreeing to the leadership of the post-war governance committee. Fatah spokesperson Abdel Fattah Abdullah in a statement reported by the official news agency Wafa, reiterated that the head of the committee should be a minister from the Palestinian Authority. Hayya also confirmed that Palestinian factions agreed to allow an international force to secure Gaza's borders, monitoring the ceasefire and ensure neither side violates it. He welcomed the inclusion of Arab and Muslim forces in this international mission, but insisted that their role would be limited to border security and ceasefire monitoring with no operations inside Gaza. He also called for a UN resolution to support the deployment of international forces. Additionally, he stated that factions had agreed to establish an international body focused on reconstruction, tasked with securing funds and overseeing the implementation of rebuilding projects. Hey, Vera, what's up? Good to see you. Good morning to you, dear. Hope you're doing well. On the issue of arms, Hayya reiterated that Hamas's arsenal is directly linked to the ongoing Israeli occupation. Once the occupation ends, he said the weapons would be handed over to the Palestinian state. He added that the matter is still under discussion with Palestinian factions and intermediaries. Regarding the ceasefire with Israel, Hayya noted that U.S. officials' comments suggest the war is over. However, since the ceasefire took effect, Israel has repeatedly violated it, killing more than 93 people in various attacks. Israel has also maintained restrictions on aid entry and kept the Rafah crossing with Egypt closed. Israel has cited the slow return of Israeli captives' bodies by Hamas as the justification for these violations. Do they really even need excuses at this point? Hayya explained that locating the bodies of Israeli captives has been difficult due to the extensive bombardment that altered Gaza's terrain. He added that some of those who buried the bodies have since been killed, making their locations unknown. 13 dead captives remain buried in Gaza. Bing, bing. There we go. And despite the ceasefires, Israel continues to attack around the region. Israel's aggressions around the Middle East haven't ceased with the recent ceasefire agreement in Gaza. The pact, established on October 10th, has eased the pressure on Palestinians in Gaza, even if Israeli strikes there continue. And in other parts of the region, Israel is still attacking on multiple fronts. Lebanon, Syria, and the West Bank have all witnessed Israeli strikes in the last week, giving credence to the idea that Israel is trying to keep its neighbors destabilized and weak. U.S. officials visited Israel this week, but Tel Aviv's biggest backer didn't seem to indicate it was ready to hold the country accountable for its regional belligerence, focusing its attention on Gaza. So here's, this is the Israeli-occupied West Bank. Israel is cracking down hard on Palestinians in the occupied West Bank. The Israeli military has killed more than 1,000 Palestinians since October 7th, 2023. In the West Bank alone, and has intensified its efforts to annex the occupied territory. For the second straight week, Israeli soldiers and settlers are harassing and arresting Palestinians trying to harvest their olives. Well, that's not a shock. The Cradle Media reports Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu's office reports Netanyahu directed the army to carry out strong strikes in the Gaza Strip. Yeah. Water wet, sky blue, film at 11. One of the Palestinians Israel recently detained has been released during January's short-lived ceasefire in a prisoner exchange, then was rearrested, according to the Wafa news agency. The violence on the ground is matched by rhetoric from Israeli officials, including Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich, who urged his supporters to pressure Trumpy to support the West Bank's annexations. He also said that Israel should declare sovereignty over the occupied West Bank, saying this would stymie the dangerous idea of a Palestinian state. In Syria, the Israeli military has been especially active in recent days, with local media reporting nearly daily incursions into Syrian territory along the southern border. Last December, as the regime of ousted President Bashar al-Assad fell, Israel encroached on Syria's territory and attacked its military infrastructure around the country. Israel has kept up its incursions, even though Syria's new government has not reciprocated Israel's aggressions. We just want peace. And Israel said, we just want a piece of Syria. The incursions include reconnaissance overflights, ground infiltration by Israeli soldiers, arrests and disappearances of Syrians, and establishing checkpoints on Syrian territory, according to Syrian media. Israel's latest aggression took place Sunday morning in the villages of Al-Razaniya and Sayyad al-Hanout in the countryside of Quneitra, Syrian state media outlet Sana reported. A unit of the Israeli forces consisting of 4 military vehicles established a checkpoint between the two villages. During the operation, the forces detained a local bread distributor who was serving the surrounding villages near Saida before releasing him, before releasing him and withdrawing from the area, a Sana reporter said. Numerous villages in Quneitra, southern Syria, have experienced Israeli incursions in recent weeks, according to Syrian outlet Enab Baladi. At the UN Security Council session on October 24th, Syria's UN representative Ibrahim Alabi said Israel must refrain from interfering in Syria's internal affairs and should stop its incursions into Syrian territory. He also condemned Israel's continued occupation of Syrian territory, including the Golan Heights. Alabi said Israel's aggressive practices violated the 1974 disengagement agreement between Syria and Israel. Israel has previously said the 1974 agreement is void since the fall of Assad. In Lebanon, Israel's continued its regular violations of the ceasefire with Hezbollah. The South has been subject to particularly heavy bombing by Israel in recent days. Yesterday, UN peacekeeping force UNIFIL shot an Israeli drone out of the sky after it claimed the drone dropped a grenade close to a patrol. UNIFIL said an Israeli tank then shot at peacekeepers with no casualties caused. Attacks on UNIFIL by Israel are not unprecedented. Earlier on Sunday, Israel killed 2 people, one in Nabi Cheat, Baalbek, and another in Nakura, South Lebanon. Israel's war on Lebanon ended on November 27th last year when a ceasefire in air quotes there, was signed between the Lebanese government and Israel. But the Israeli military did not fully withdraw its troops from Lebanon and continued to bombard the country on a near daily basis. Recent attacks have destroyed reconstruction equipment and killed civilians, with Israeli media claiming these strikes are to deter Hezbollah from rebuilding in the south. It's always about the H, isn't it? It's all about that H, no peace. Israel and the U.S. are insisting that the Lebanese government disarm Hezbollah completely, a demand beyond what was stipulated in the ceasefire, which called for Hezbollah's withdrawal from southern Lebanon, to which Hezbollah replied, "Go fuck yourself." Would you disarm when another country is still invading yours? I don't think so. Hey, Yonina, what's up? Good morning. Good to see you. They want all the pieces. Yeah, it don't matter. It don't matter how big or small. They want it all. The Lebanese government has announced its intent to disarm Hezbollah. Yeah, good luck with that. But has pressed the U.S. to hold Israel accountable for its ceasefire violations, including its continued occupation of at least 5 points in Lebanese territory. Lebanese media, however, reports that U.S. Special Envoy Tim Barak has been unable to convince Israel to leave Lebanese territory or cease its aggression, leaving many Lebanese fearful of a return to last year's violence when Israel killed more than 4,000 people in Lebanon and displaced over 1 million. Well, you know, Tommy boy, if you take that checkbook away, they might do something. That's not going to happen. Israeli media also reported that their army recently ran military drills simulating a Hezbollah invasion, despite experts and diplomats telling Al Jazeera that the group is currently incapable of such an attack. In Gaza, U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance said during a visit to Israel last week that the ceasefire agreed on October 10th between Hamas and Israel is going better than expected. He had a little bit of the grandpa's cough medicine at the time when he said that bullshit. Yet Israel has continued to launch strikes across Gaza and kill people, leaving the definition of what the U.S. administration was expecting quite vague. Outside of its continuing attacks, Israel is also undermining the ceasefire agreement by creeping deeper into Gaza, overstepping an invisible yellow line it was supposed to withdraw to, as reported by the BBC. While Israeli attacks are less frequent than before the ceasefire, Palestinian suffering at the hands of Israel persists in Gaza. In addition to its continued choking off of aid supplies entering Gaza, Israel has continued to increase its death toll. It killed 1 Palestinian and injured 4 others in a drone attack Saturday night in Gaza's Nusrat refugee camp, according to a statement by Al-Adwa Hospital. Nearly 100 Palestinians have been killed since the ceasefire went into effect. Meanwhile, Israel is also blocking sick people from leaving via the Rafah border crossing. Rasha Abu Sabika told Al Jazeera on Sunday that she has stage 3 cancer and needs to leave Gaza for adequate medical treatment after Israel destroyed the Gaza Strip's medical infrastructure. Yet there is no relief in sight for Abu Sabika, who is still waiting for Israel to allow her to travel for treatment. So, yeah, ceasefire and Israel, that's not really a thing that they do. They don't do ceasefires. They'll tell you they are. They'll say it all damn day, but they won't ceasefire. They want that greater Israel. Come on, y'all. They want the greater Israel. Over 400 casualties in Gaza since the start of the U.S.-backed ceasefire. The health ministry in Gaza said yesterday that nearly 100 Palestinians have been killed by Israeli attacks since Trump's ceasefire plan went into effect. According to the ministry's daily statistical report, 93 have been killed and 332 injured since October 11th. The ministry added that it has so far recovered the bodies of 472 Palestinians killed during the war. Victims are still under the rubble and on the streets as ambulance and civil defense teams have been unable to reach them so far, it said. So far, 72 out of the 195 bodies released by the occupation have been identified, the ministry added. Many of the Palestinian bodies handed over as part of the swap arrived in Gaza unrecognizable, either charred or decomposed. Numerous others arrived in cuffs, bearing signs of torture and execution. We told you about that last week. Israel's attacks on the Gaza Strip are ongoing, in stark violation of the ceasefire. 2 civilians were killed in an Israeli drone strike in the town of Abbasan al-Kabira, east of Gaza's southern city of Khan Yunis. The Israeli army claimed Palestinians crossed the ceasefire line, posting a threat to troops. That's the usual MO there. Khan Yunis and Rafah were also heavily shelled, while the central city of Deir al-Balah came under fire from Israeli tanks. Over the weekend, 1 person was killed and others were injured in an Israeli strike on Nusrat, as we told you about that. The Israeli army claimed the attack targeted an operative of the Palestinian Islamic Jihad, the PIJ movement's Quds Brigade, who it said was planning an attack on its troops. Kind of reminds you of that Charlie Day thing, that meme with him in front of the conspiracy board with the red strings. He's got the cigarette in his hand. Aquaman defended the attack on Monday. We don't view that as a violation of the ceasefire. We'll tell you more about that later in our propaganda watch. PIJ said in a statement, Sunday that the occupation armies claim that Quds Brigade's members in Nusrat were preparing for an imminent operation is a baseless lie and a fabrication aimed at justifying its aggression and its violation of the ceasefire. We hold the criminal enemy fully responsible for this breach and call on the mediators to assume their responsibilities, uphold the ceasefire commitments, and compel the enemy army to stop such attacks that provoke reactions, it added. Last weekend, Israel killed dozens of civilians and assassinated several top Hamas military leaders. Tel Aviv is demanding the immediate disarmament of Hamas, backed by Washington and, according to reports, a number of Arab states as well. That ain't going to happen either. While Trump's full ceasefire plan calls for the resistance to surrender its weapons, Hamas and Israel have only officially agreed to a first phase so far, which included a release of captives and prisoners, provision of aid, and initial Israeli army withdrawals. Hamas had initially approved this protocol, but stressed that other aspects of the deal would require deliberation. The full Trump agreement also gives Israel the right to maintain a perimeter presence inside Gaza until the strip is free from terror. And guess what? Spoiler alert, it's never going to be free from terror in the eyes of Israel. The Palestinian resistance group has agreed to step back from governing Gaza, but rejects disarmament. Yeah. Just like Hezbollah, they're like, no, bitch, we're not going to disarm. Are you stupid? You keep attacking us. And as we told you, they're still blocking aid. UNRWA says Israel is blocking aid staff entry into Gaza. The UN's Palestinian Refugee Agency, that's UNRWA, UNRWA, said that Israel is continuing to block its staff and humanitarian aid from entering Gaza. Around 12,000 of our staff continue to deliver healthcare, psychosocial support, and education to the people, often under unimaginable conditions, the agency said in a post on the Twitters. Israel had banned UNRWA from operating in the territory it controls last year, claiming a number of its employees were members of Hamas. You remember, and they replaced it with that, you know, that murderous GHF or whatever that was. Yeah, so this is from UNRWA on the Twitter. UNRWA international staff and humanitarian aid continue to be denied entry into Gaza. Food, hygiene, kits, tents, and other supplies are desperately needed. Ceasefire alone is not enough. Around 12,000 of our staff continue to deliver health care, and we told you about the rest there. Yeah. Israel playing games again. And saying the quiet part out loud, the IDF chief on Gaza, the war is not yet over. The head of the Israeli military said on Monday that Israel's military campaign in Gaza isn't over until all the bodies of deceased Israeli hostages are recovered, and suggested the campaign against Hamas would continue after that. The war is not yet over, and we must complete our sacred mission of of bringing the fallen hostages home and continue the campaign against Hamas, IDF Chief of Staff Lieutenant General Eyal Zamir said at a military conference, according to the Times of Israel. While there has been a de-escalation in Gaza, Israeli forces have continued launching attacks since the ceasefire deal was signed, killing at least 95 Palestinians in that time, as we told you, according to numbers from Gaza's health ministry. And the IDF currently controls about 58% of Gaza's territory. Comments from Trump have also made clear that Israeli officials are eager to restart the full-scale genocidal campaign and would do so if he gave the word. Zamir's comments came on the same day that Hamas returned another Israeli body, leaving a total of 12 deceased hostages under the rubble in Gaza. Israel has handed over at least 195 Palestinian bodies to Gaza in exchange. And, of course, we'd say they were all disfigured and burned and signs of torture. It was clear when Israel signed the ceasefire deal that recovering all of Israeli bodies would take time, but the Israeli government attempted to use Hamas's lack of access to all of the hostage remains to blow up the deal, and continues to claim that the Palestinian group is delaying the process. But Hamas has continued to expand its efforts and reportedly entered Israeli-controlled parts of Gaza with the International Committee of the Red Cross to search for remains yesterday. According to the Israeli news site Ynet, Hamas has conveyed that it has located the remains of 7 to 9 Israeli bodies and is working to excavate them. The report also said that Israel is asking the U.S. For permission to expand its occupation of Gaza to expand its as a sanction against Hamas for the time it is taking to find the bodies. And they know it's taking time to find these bodies, and they're using that as an excuse to continue their fucking genocide. They're fucking criminals. All of them. They're all goddamn criminals. And speaking of criminals, king of Segway, arrests have been made in the Louvre jewelry heist by French police. According to a Paris prosecutor, there's the Louvre right there. Yeah, oh, nice. And remember that from those, what was the books? The Dan Brown books. French authorities have made arrests in connection with the recent theft of jewelry from the Louvre Museum in Paris. According to a Paris prosecutor Laure Becot said in a statement on Sunday that investigators made the arrests on Saturday evening, adding that one of the men taken into custody was preparing to leave the country from Paris Charles de Gaulle Airport. The gall of that guy. They were the Gauls. These jokes, they're terrible. The statement did not specify whether any of the stolen jewelry had been recovered. The French newspaper La Parisienne and magazine Paris Match, you can't say that really with a French accent, reported that the arrest at the airport took place about 10 p.m. local time on Saturday, while a second suspect was arrested not long after in the Paris region, according to Le Parisien. The newspaper said the man arrested at the airport had been about to board a flight to Algeria. It said both suspects were in their 30s, originally from the Saint Denis area and known to French police. French media outlets, including newspaper Le Figaro, reported, citing police sources, that the second arrested man had been planning to flee to Mali. The 2 men had been taken into police custody on suspicion of organized theft and criminal conspiracy, the AFP news agency reported. Bacot did not confirm the number of arrests in the operation, which was carried out by the police anti-gang brigade. She condemned the premature leak of information about the arrest, saying it could hinder the work of investigators who were trying to recover the stolen jewels and apprehend all of the perpetrators. In a post on the Twitters, French Interior Minister Laurent Nunez praised police for their efforts. I would like to offer my warmest congratulations to the investigators who work tirelessly as I asked them to, and who always have my full confidence, he said. The investigations must continue while respecting the confidentiality of the inquiry. Let's keep going. You're not a skunk, you're a cat. Sorry, a little Pepe Le Pew reference. The Louvre Museum in the French capital closed 1 week ago after a group of intruders stole 8 pieces of priceless jewelry on October 19th in a 4-minute heist in broad daylight that rocked the world's most visited museum and was followed rapidly around the globe. The robbers had climbed the extendable ladder of a moving truck and cut into a first-floor gallery, taking advantage of what museum staff said was a blind spot in the security surveillance of the museum's outside walls. Could be an inside job, too. You still have the Pink Panther diamond. You keeping it in the old spaceship there? They dropped a crown as they fled down the ladder and onto scooters, but managed to steal 8 other pieces, including an emerald and diamond necklace that Napoleon Bonaparte gave his second wife, Empress Marie-Louise. Officials said the jewels were worth an estimated $102 million, but have incalculable cultural value. Probably priceless and worthless at the same time as a whole, but if you take it to an old jewelry chop shop, you can get some money out of it. Kelly Gregores, good morning to you. I hope you're safe and sound wherever you are, pal. An intensive manhunt for the thieves has been ongoing and has involved dozens of investigators. Bacot said public and private security cameras had allowed detectives to track the thieves in Paris and in surrounding regions, while investigators were able to find dozens of DNA samples and fingerprints at the scene. The brazen theft, which the Louvre's director called a terrible failure, has made headlines across the world and sparked a debate in France about the security of cultural institutions. Within 24 hours of the Louvre heist, a museum in eastern France reported the theft of gold and silver coins after finding a smashed display case. Last month, thieves broke into Paris's Natural History Museum and stole gold nuggets worth more than 1.5 million smackers. A Chinese woman has been detained and charged in relation to that theft. So, did they actually catch him? How's things in Cali? Everything good? Very good. Hope things are. I love that Cali weather, except when it's not good. And then when it's not good, it's not good at all. Yeah, so what they'll do is more than likely is probably just cut up the pieces. If there's big diamonds or big jewels, they'll cut those into little jewels because they're easier to fence. You know, unless this was some sort of political statement to screw over France. I doubt that. I really do. I don't think so. You would have heard some sort of statement by now from somebody, but I think it's just people just trying to get that money, man. They're trying to get that money. That's what they're doing. Finally, in our news block, you probably heard about this the other day. This was on Sunday, as Connolly wins Irish presidency and blow to political establishment. She is right there. Catherine Connolly has been elected president of Ireland in a resounding landslide, marking a historic moment for left-wing politics in Ireland, but falling short of a decisive ideological shift in the country's political direction. Connolly, a 68-year-old independent lawmaker from Galway, won over 64% of the vote in Ireland's presidential election, which surprised observers and humiliated the dominant center-right parties Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil. yeah, I know, right? Talk about fail. See, because they didn't win. When she launched her candidacy in July, Connolly was viewed as an outsider, a soft-spoken parliamentarian with limited national visibility. Backed initially by small opposition parties such as the Social Democrats, Labour, and People Before Profit, she later gained the critical support of Sinn Féin, which chose not to field its own candidate. And if I'm butchering these Irish names, I apologize, because I'm not Irish. I look Irish, but I'm not really Irish. I got a little Irish in me. One day I'll let them out. See, despite the broad but loosely aligned coalition, few predicted the scale of her success. Ireland's electoral system allows voters to rank candidates by preference, which was expected to favor the establishment parties. Instead, Connolly's popularity cut across age groups and regions, especially among younger voters, securing a first preference landslide. So an analysis by The Guardian explains that Connolly's victory was aided not just by the campaign agility and viral moments, but also by strategic and candidate missteps from the ruling parties. Fianna Fáil's Jim Gavin dropped out of the race late due to a financial scandal, but his name remained on the ballot, deflating enthusiasm among the party base. Fine Gael turned to Heather Humphreys after their first choice. Mariad McGuinness withdrew for health reasons. However, Humphreys failed to energize voters. This left Connolly as the standout figure in a race some voters viewed with cynicism or disinterest. Her energetic grassroots campaign and personal appeals as a principled outsider resonated in contrast to the establishment's faltering efforts. According to The Guardian, Connolly's win is politically significant, but it does not equate to a national shift to the left. While the presidency in Ireland is largely ceremonial, recent occupants, including Mary Robinson, Mary McAleese, and Michael D. Higgins, have shaped public discourse through symbolic acts and moral leadership. Connolly has expressed strong views on Irish neutrality, European militarism, and global justice, but she has also pledged to respect constitutional limits. International comparisons to figures like Jeremy Corbyn have emerged, yet Connolly has distanced herself from being a Sinn Féin instrument or figurehead for Irish unification. The issue was largely absent from the campaign, and Connolly has shown little personal interest in pursuing it as a national agenda. Despite the historic result, turnout was notably low, estimated at 46%, and the election saw a record number of spoiled ballots. Many voters, frustrated by the lack of a strong conservative or alternative candidate, deliberately invalidated their votes. Critics of the race lamented a narrow field that failed to reflect broader public concerns, including immigration and national identity. Connolly's win, while clear, does not represent unanimous public enthusiasm, but rather a confluence of anti-establishment sentiment, tactical opposition unity, and establishment disarray. Catherine Connolly's rise to the presidency is a powerful statement on the current state of Irish politics. Her supporters speak of a movement, and opposition parties may be inspired to form a more coherent front in future general elections. Yet, with low turnout and deep voter skepticism, Ireland's political transformation, if it is coming, remains incomplete. Apparently, she called what's going on in Israel a genocide, and yet she still won. What's up, Ghost Art? Good to see you've been filing legal documents. Yikes. That's no fun. Well, we're glad you're here. We hope things are okay with you besides the paper thing. So what's going on here in Chicago? Is it legal? I don't know. It shouldn't be. But one group is challenging what these federal agents are doing, and what in the crime-ridden Chicago area where crime is actually down.
Sharing of biased and
False news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media are true without checking facts first. Unfortunately, some members of the media use those platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
Okay. So, hey, what's up, Laine? Good to see you. Good morning. Good morning to you. Group calls on Illinois AG to open probe into unlawful actions of federal agents in Chicago. A legal advocacy group requested yesterday that the Illinois officials open criminal investigations into the unlawful conduct of federal agents deployed to Chicago by Trumpy. Free Speech for People, a national pro-democracy nonprofit, called on State Attorney General Kwame Raoul, Cook County State's Attorney Eileen O'Neill Burke, and Chicago Police Superintendent Larry Snelling to probe what is called an escalating pattern of criminal activity by federal agents over the past 2 months of Trump's Operation Midway Blitz, which was launched in early September, and which the Department of Homeland Security says has resulted in the arrests of more than 1,500 people. What's up, Noman? Noman. Good to see you. Good morning to you. The group highlights several incidents of what they called military-style operations carried out across the Chicago area by agencies including ICE, Customs and Border Protection, and others. Agents have shot at least 2 Chicago residents, a 38-year-old Mexican father of 2, Silverio Villegas Gonzalez, and a 30-year-old anti-ICE protester and U.S. citizen, Marimar Martinez, with DHS accusing each of ramming their cars into officers. In both cases, those accounts would later be called into question by body cameras and other footage. In other words, they didn't have any fucking proof, and they're lying. Elsewhere, agents who rappelled from military helicopters, that's a Blues Brothers reference, sorry, would conduct an overnight raid at a South Shore apartment building where they indiscriminately broke down residents' doors, smashed furniture and belongings, and dragged dozens of them, including children, of course, it's always children, into U-Haul vans where some were detained for hours. The letter details cases of what appears to be overt racial profiling and notes that Gregory Bovino, the commander of the Border Patrol operation in Chicago, has suggested that people were being detained based on how they look and seemed to hint that the white reporter he spoke to would be less likely to be arrested than others. In one case, a Latina U.S. citizen, 44-year-old Maria Greeley, was detained at her workplace and held with zip ties for an hour while officers insisted her passport, which she always carries with her in case of arrest by ICE authorities, was fake because she doesn't look like her last name was Greeley. Oh my God. Others have been attacked for protesting or attempting to document ICE raids outside the ICE detention facility in the suburb of Broadview. The group said officers' conduct has been especially brazen. The facility where hundreds of detainees are held in reportedly squalid conditions has been the flashpoint for protests across the city. Many have been met with violence from federal officers, including Pastor David Black, who was shot in the head with a pepper ball while praying outside the facility. You can't pray. What are you doing praying? Holy shit. After being told by Kristi Noem that she and Trump were sick of the way protesters were speaking about, Trump and Noem afraid of free speech, huh? We're speaking about federal law enforcement and that there should be consequences. Bovino led a force that fired tear gas and rubber bullets at protesters and journalists in the state's designated free speech area. I thought the whole United States was supposed to be a free speech area. Outside the ICE facility. Others have been arrested simply for attempting to document and question ICE's actions during arrest. Alderwoman Jessie Fuentes, who is Puerto Rican, was handcuffed by officers after demanding to know if officers had a warrant for a man they were attempting to detain in a hospital emergency room. In another case, officers broke through the gate of a cemetery to detain 2 U.S. citizens who were filming their activity, which is protected under the First Amendment. These are not law enforcement operations. They are acts of political violence, said Courtney Hostetler, Free Speech for People's legal director. Trump and his agents are using the power of the federal government to kidnap residents, terrorize communities, and attack people for exercising their First Amendment rights. State officials have both the power and the duty to act. So why aren't they? Though the Supremacy Clause of the U.S. Constitution limits the ability of states to impede federal law enforcement, Ben Clements, the group's chairman and senior legal advisor, said federal agents do not have a license to commit crimes. The group noted that the police chief of Broadview, Thomas Mills, has already initiated 3 criminal investigations into ICE officers for making false 9/11 or 911 calls to his office, striking protesters with their cars, and shooting a pepper ball at CBS News Chicago reporter Asal Razaya's vehicle outside the facility. When federal officials become the perpetrators of violence and illegality, it falls to the states to defend the rule of law, said Ben Horton, counsel at Free Speech for People. Illinois must not wait for, and with this lawless administration, cannot rely on Washington to police itself. Yeah, it shouldn't matter if a federal agent is committing a crime, or if a federal agent is committing a crime, they're still citizens and they're still bound by the law. Arrest those motherfuckers. Do it anyway. Pull a Trump. Do something and then make the court stop you. The group argued that not only should agents accused of crimes be charged, but that criminal liability extends to Trump and his senior officials who have ordered agents to detain as many people as possible. The old fish rots from the head down mentality. The brutality and illegality of these operations are a feature, not a bug, the letter says. They're designed to crush dissent and spread fear among Trump's perceived political enemies and marginalize communities. Exactly. That's exactly what they are. Meanwhile, I don't know, I included this, but I really don't care about opinion pieces or people who write opinion pieces, but this might be somewhat significant, as over 150 New York Times contributors to boycott the paper over Gaza coverage. Maybe this will stick in the craw of the shitlibs that read that shit. More than 150 New York Times contributors have signed a pledge not to write for the U.S. newspaper's opinion section, citing its biased coverage of the Israel-Palestine conflict and war on Gaza. Until the New York Times takes accountability for its biased coverage and commits to truthfully and ethically reporting on the U.S.-Israeli war on Gaza, any putative challenge to the newsroom or the editorial board in the form of a first-person essay is, in effect, permission to continue this malpractice, the signatories to the letter wrote. Only by withholding our labor can we mount an effective challenge to the hegemonic authority that the Times has long used to launder the U.S. and Israeli lies, so the writers added. Withholding our labor. Withholding our labor. How about that. It works. The letter was signed by dozens of high-profile activists, artists, and U.S. politicians, including Rima Hassan, Chelsea Manning, Rashida Tlaib, Sally Rooney, Ilya Suleiman, Greta Thunberg, Viet Thanh Nguyen, I think it's Nguyen. I think the N is silent. And Dave Zirin. Never heard of Dave Zirin. We owe it to the journalists and writers of Palestine to refuse complicity with the Times and to demand that the paper account for its failures such that it can never again manufacture consent for mass slaughter, torture, and displacement, the authors wrote. Some other prominent names joining the boycott include Chris Hedges, Mark Lamont Hill, Noura Erakat, Vijay Prashad, Mariam Kaba, Robin D.G. Kelly, Mohammed El Kurd, Susan Stryker, Gia Tolentino, Eve L. Ewing, Dean Spade, Niall Fort, Susan Abulhawa, and Rashid Khalidi. The signatories issued 3 demands to the New York Times. First, it called on the newspaper to conduct a review of anti-Palestinian bias and produce new editorial standards for the Palestine coverage. The signatories called for new sourcing and citation practices, along with a new style guide for how the paper uses vocabulary to describe the Israeli-Palestine conflict. And what that part means is like whenever they would say Palestinians were murdered, they would say they were killed by somebody, but they wouldn't say that they were killed by the IDF. That kind of wording. The letter also called for a ban on any journalist who has served in the Israeli military. The writers also called on the New York Times to retract a December 2023 article titled "Screams Without Words," which alleged that Palestinians who took part in the Hamas October 7th attack committed sexual assault against Israeli women. That article relied largely on the testimony of an unnamed Israeli Special Forces paramedic. A spokesperson for the kibbutz, where the article claimed the assaults took place, later denied the allegation made by the Times. Anat Schwartz, one of the report's authors, was later investigated by the paper after it emerged that she had liked a social media post calling for Gaza to be turned into a slaughterhouse. Prior to the article, family members of the girls killed during the attack, who were the alleged victims of the sexual assault, gave several interviews that appeared to contradict the claims made in the story. However, none of those interviews were used in the New York Times piece. Surprise, surprise, surprise. The letter's signatories also demand that the New York Times editorial board call for a U.S. arms embargo on Israel. That's not going to happen. The signatories said their demands were neither impossible nor unreasonable. The authors noted that the paper updated its style guide during the late 1980s AIDS crisis and also apologized for erroneous reporting following the 2003 U.S. invasion of Iraq. Yeah, they were all up in that, saying there was yellow cake uranium in the end. The Times is just shit. There is no U.S. newspaper more influential than the New York Times. Editors and producers in newsrooms across the West take cues from its coverage. It is widely considered the paper of record in the U.S., the letter said. Since Israel began its genocidal war on Gaza, the New York Times has obfuscated, justified, and outright denied the occupiers' war crimes, thus continuing the paper's decades-long practice of acting as a bullhorn for the Israeli government and military, the signatories added, which is all well and good, but you probably should have done this while Biden was president too, because this shit was going on while Biden and nobody said anything. Now all of a sudden Trumpy's in there, and it's like, oh, I guess it's okay. What's up, Max? I want nothing. Good to see you. Wrong show, pal, but I appreciate the spirit in which it was intended. So the U.S. detains British journalists during a tour after Israel criticism. U.S. authorities detained a British Muslim journalist on Sunday, apparently due to his criticism of Israel, according to the Council on American Islamic Relations. That's CARE. Sami Hamdi was held by the Department of Homeland Security's ICE agency at San Francisco's International Airport during a speaking tour in the U.S. Hamdi had spoken at a CARE gala on Saturday in Sacramento, where he condemned Israel's genocide in Gaza. He was scheduled to speak at another CARE event in Florida on Sunday. CARE has described the detention as retaliation for Hamdi's criticism of Israel, calling it an abduction, which is exactly what it is. Detaining a prominent British Muslim journalist and political commentator during his speaking tour in the U.S. simply for daring to criticize the Israeli government's actions is a blatant attack on free speech, the Washington-based CARE said in a statement. Hamdi is the editor-in-chief of The International Interest, a publication focused on Middle East geopolitics, and is known for his outspoken criticism of the U.S. and Israeli policies. Our attorneys and partners are working to address this injustice. We call on ICE to immediately account for and release Mr. Hamdi, whose only crime is criticizing a foreign government that committed genocide, CARE said on Hamdi's arrest. Our nation must stop abducting critics of the Israeli government at the behest of unhinged Israel First bigots. This is an Israel First policy, not an America First policy, and it must end, the statement read. Founder of the pro-Israel group Rare Foundation, Amy Meckelberg, who took credit for Hamdi's arrest, accused the British Muslim journalist of legitimizing jihadi networks. This is a major victory for America and a major blow to the jihadi network in America. I've been fighting this relentlessly, and this morning the system moved, she wrote on the tweeters. Rare Foundation USA acts as a pressure group to combat the threats from Islamic supremacists, their words, and opposes the network of individuals and organizations waging war on Judeo-Christian values. The values. I haven't heard that in a while. Our values. Yeah, people's values are shit. Its publicly stated missions include opposing the deleterious effects of Islamic supremacy on civilization. Meckelberg, who accused Hamdi of being a supporter of the Muslim Brotherhood, also attacked CARE. Let's see how the CARE Tampa event is holding up now that their keynote agitator was detained and is being deported, she wrote. She sounds like somebody that would call the cops on people having the barbecue in the park. You know what I mean, Karen? She also called on the Department of Homeland Security to deport Hamdi. A foreign national is moving freely across the U.S., speaking from mosques, universities, and caravan stages, while training U.S. Muslims in digital agitation, electoral sabotage, and political warfare in alignment with Muslim Brotherhood doctrine, she said. Then she drank some adrenochrome. Assistant Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, Tricia McLaughlin, shared Meckelberg's message, thanking the authorities for arresting Hamdi. Under President Donald Trump, those who support terrorism and undermine American national security will not be allowed to work or visit this country, she said. Far-right activist and Trump ally Laura Loomer, when she's not playing that doll on the Saw movies, who has openly described herself as a proud Islamophobe and white advocate, also credited the Rare Foundation for Hamdi's arrest.
As a direct result of Amy's report and my relentless pressure on the State Department and Department of Homeland Security, U.S. officials have now moved to take action against Hamdi's visa status and his continued presence in this country, she wrote. You're lucky this is his only fate is being arrested and deported, she said, falsely branding him a supporter of Hamas, the Muslim Brotherhood. And then she said, I want to play a game. Hamdi's arrest comes amid growing accusations of efforts to silence voices critical of the Israeli actions in Gaza and the Western world's support for them. Human Rights Watch said in April that over 3,000 students have been arrested in the U.S. in 2024 for protesting against Israel's military operation in Gaza. Who was president then? Who was president in 2004, 24? Wasn't that, oh yeah, it was Sleepy Joe. Human Rights Watch called the Trump administration's actions and justifications for the arrests and planned deportations illegitimate and false. The arrests and deportations of non-citizen students and scholars for expressing their political views are creating a climate of fear on campuses across the country, said John Raffling, Associate U.S. Program Director at HRW. Anytime Laura Loomer, it's rare that I have a Laura Loomer quote in any of these things, but when I do, she's going to be Jigsaw. She's going to be Jigsaw.
The Trump administration's actions are an attack on free speech and threaten the very foundation of free society. On March 8th, U.S. authorities arrested Mahmoud Khalil, a Columbia University graduate and permanent resident. The DHS has also sought to arrest and deport Yoon-seo Chung, a Columbia undergraduate and lawful permanent resident from South Korea who has lived in the U.S. since childhood. In the UK, the government has taken similar steps to curb public criticism of Israel and support for Palestine. In July, the UK government prescribed the group Palestine Action under the Terrorism Act, making public support for the group a criminal offense. Since then, British police have arrested hundreds of protesters expressing support for Palestine. Amnesty International has called the arrests disproportionate to the point of absurdity to be treating them as terrorists. Yeah, so it still continues. They're still, it's so funny how these people were, okay, thanks, Chad. It's so funny how they were complaining about getting, booted off Twitter when Dorsey was there because their free speech was being violated. And now they're violating free speech left and right, at least the people that are in charge. Which is, I think there's a word for that. What's it called? I think it's hypocrisy. That's it. Going back to the story from 2022, U.S. Army colonel found the IDF intentionally killed Palestinian American journalists in 2022. A retired U.S. Army colonel who was involved in the investigation into the Israeli military killing of Palestinian American journalist Shireen Abu Akleh has revealed that he found the shooting was intentional shortly after she was killed. Abu Akleh, a veteran Al Jazeera reporter and a Christian, was killed by the Israeli military while reporting on an IDF raid in the Jenin refugee camp in the Israeli-occupied West Bank on May 11, 2022. She was shot in the head while wearing a vest clearly marked with the words press. My findings were beyond a reasonable doubt that this was an intentional killing of Shireen Abu Akleh, Colonel Steve Gabovics told Zedio reporter Mehdi Hassan. Gabovics affirmed that he came to the conclusion within 10 days of Abu Akleh's killing. There she is right there, if you may remember her. Despite Gabovics' findings, the Biden administration's State Department claimed in a statement issued on July 4, 2022, that the shooting was unintentional and the result of tragic circumstances. Big ol' oopsies. Gabovics told Hassan that his boss at the time, Lieutenant General Michael R. Fenzel, who led the U.S. Security Coordinator Liaison Office for Israel, took the word of an Israeli general over his findings. How about that? Gabovics said that General Yehuda Fox, the head of Israel's Central Command at the time, told Fenzel that an Israeli soldier may have killed Abu Akleh, but that it was an accident and it was a matter of tragic circumstances, the same language used in the Biden administration's statement. Yeah. So the U.S. general takes the word of a foreign general over his own officer, who he sent to investigate? Hassan asked Gabovics, to which he answered to the affirmative. Gabovics first shared his story as an anonymous source for a Zedio documentary titled Who Killed Shireen? He revealed his identity in an interview with the New York Times yesterday and said he came forward because of his frustration with the case. The retired U.S. colonel, who was a career military policeman and served 30 years, told the Times that he and his colleagues were flabbergasted by the Biden administration's statement on Abu Akleh's killing, and the fact that the State Department avoided calling it intentional continued to be on my conscience nonstop. The favoritism is always toward the Israelis. Very little of that goes to the Palestinians, if any. Yeah. So, yeah, it's not surprising that, we find out that she was murdered. And what is surprising is some of these people are starting to whistleblow on it now, which is great. Now, Need more of it. Let's expose these clowns. When you put sunlight on the truth, people tend to respect it a little bit more. So, as we told you earlier about the airstrikes in Gaza and Aquaman's his response to that, Aquaman says Israeli airstrike in Gaza, not violation of ceasefire. Look at this guy. I'm so thirsty. Please, Lord, give me some water. I'm so goddamn thirsty. U.S. Secretary of State Aquaman yesterday defended an Israeli airstrike on Gaza, insisting it did not breach the ceasefire mediated by Washington, Egypt, and Qatar. We don't view that as a violation of the ceasefire, Aquaman said aboard U.S. President Donald Trump's plane during a trip to Asia. His remarks came after Israel claimed to have targeted a member of the Palestinian Islamic Jihad, as we told you, in central Gaza on Saturday, alleging the individual was preparing an attack on Israeli forces. PIJ movement denied the claim. The occupation armies claimed that Quds Brigade's members in Nusrat were preparing yesterday for an imminent operation is a baseless lie and a fabrication aimed at justifying its aggression and its violation of the ceasefire, the statement said. Aquaman stated that Israel has the right to attack if there's an imminent threat to Israel, and all the mediators agree with that. The strike came shortly after the secretary's departure from the Israeli-occupied territories, where he had met officials to discuss efforts to consolidate the truce. And then it goes on to say, according to the Palestinian Ministry of Health, Israel's killed at least 8 Palestinians and wounded 13 others across Gaza over the past 48 hours in violation of the ceasefire. Casualties up to 400 with 93 Palestinians killed. The ministry reported recovering 472 bodies so far, adding that victims are still under the rubble and on the streets. 2 civilians were killed in an Israeli drone strike east of Khan Yunis. The PIJ held the Israeli army fully responsible for the breach and called on ceasefire mediators to compel Tel Aviv to stop such attacks that provoke reactions. Yeah. Lapid said he'll push for revoking ultra-Orthodox draft dodgers' right to vote. This is the opposition person in Israel. This is the one who's... Everybody in Israel politics is just evil as fuck, all right? Opposition leader Yair Lapid threatened yesterday that if his party is elected to a future government, he will seek to revoke the voting rights of ultra-Orthodox Israelis who do not enlist in the IDF. If the government's controversial legislation to enshrine Haredi draft exemptions passes in the next government, there will be a simple law. Whoever does not come to military induction will not come to the polls. Whoever does not enlist will not vote in the elections, Lapid told reporters ahead of his Yesh Atid party's weekly faction meeting in the Knesset. Very good, Kitty. Enjoy yourself. You had to get the fuck out of Bakersfield? Yeah, that's a crazy place. I wouldn't want to be there either. In the current Knesset, a bill was voted down that said those who don't enlist don't vote. Yesh Atid voted in favor. We will bring back the proposal without batting an eye, and we'll tell the Haredim, this isn't against you. It's not a punishment. On the contrary, it's an invitation to be part of the Israeli story of our shared destiny and of a country where everyone has the same obligations. Otherwise, they don't have the same rights, he said. So you... If you guys don't, you ultra-Orthodox don't start with helping us with this genocide, you ain't going to get to vote on shit. Lapid was referring to a failed bill sponsored by MK, that's a minister of Knesset, Avigdor Lieberman's Yisrael Beitenu party, Beitenu, that sought to link voting rights to national service. In a statement, Lieberman welcomed Lapid's insistence that anyone who does not enlist will not vote. I wouldn't be surprised if that comes here soon. All right. Especially the dwindling numbers in our military. Although they don't really need a military. They just use drones. They could just use drones. Turkish court charges jailed opposition leader with political espionage. So yeah, Erdogan's rivals getting the business, as it were. A Turkish court has filed new charges against opposition leader Ekrem İmamoğlu, who was arrested in March, sparked mass anti-government protests. The move by prosecutors on Monday against the jailed Istanbul mayor stems from an investigation launched last week into alleged links to a businessman arrested in July for carrying out intelligence activities on behalf of foreign governments. The charges are part of what İmamoğlu's Republican People's Party, or CHP, that's not to be confused with the California Highway Patrol, has labeled a long-running crackdown on the opposition. President Erdogan's government rejects this accusation and insists that Turkey's judiciary is independent and the charges and investigations are based squarely on the opposition's involvement in corruption and other illegal activities. Wink, wink, wink, wink, wink. I hurt my Turkish eye. İmamoğlu's arrest in March on corruption charges caused nationwide protests while he received a jail sentence in July for insulting and threatening the chief Istanbul prosecutor. The state-run Anadolu news agency said İmamoğlu, Erdogan's main political rival, is suspected, among other things, of transferring personal data of Istanbul residents as part of an effort to secure international funding for his presidential campaign. İmamoğlu has denied all the charges, both in court and on social media. Such a slander, lie, and conspiracy wouldn't even cross the devil's mind, he wrote on the tweeters. We are facing a shameful indecency that can't be described with words. İmamoğlu's former campaign manager, Nakati Özkan, was also charged alongside Mardin Yanardağ, editor-in-chief of the television news channel Tele 1. The channel, which is critical of the government, was seized by the state on Friday, citing the espionage accusations. Hundreds of supporters rallied outside Istanbul's main courthouse on Sunday as İmamoğlu was questioned by prosecutors. It was the first time he had left Istanbul's Marmara prison on the outskirts of Istanbul in 7 months. Critics view his detention and the subsequent additional charges as part of a broader crackdown on the opposition, which made significant gains in last year's local elections. See how that works? CHP mayors and municipalities have faced waves of arrests throughout the year on corruption-related charges. Erdogan has denied accusations of political interference in the judiciary. Who, me? Not me. On Friday, an Ankara court dismissed a bid to oust Özgür Özel, that's OZ Square, as leader of the CHP in a case centered on allegations of vote buying and procedural irregularities at the party's 2023 Congress. Yeah. So, yeah. As much as Erdogan hates Israel, he hates his political opponents even more. So that's why you should never have political idols. You shouldn't idolize people. You should always be skeptical of people in power in particular, right? Finally, in our little propaganda watch here thing, I almost used this as a kicker, but then I thought, you know what? This might be a good story. It's kind of funny, but, you know, well, okay. So New Jersey police blame hoax monkey sightings on AI-generated images. CIA tried to recruit Maduro's personal pilot, General Bittner Villegas, to divert Maduro's jet so the authorities could kidnap him. Wow, that's crazy. So police in New Jersey said reports of monkeys on the loose in Newark are a social media hoax perpetrated by photos and videos that appear to be AI generated. Newark Public Safety Director Emmanuel Miranda, named after the Miranda rights? Yeah, the right to remain silent, said police received a report of wild monkeys on the loose at Georgia King Village on Thursday morning, one day after local animal control received similar reports of monkeys on the streets of Newark. Police searched the area of the reported sighting but found no signs of non-human primate activity. Miranda said the reports are now believed to be the result of a hoax. Officers have not located any monkeys, Miranda told WPIX TV. Any photos or videos posted on social media regarding this incident are likely AI generated. And while this is all fun and games, this is the fear we have. This is one of the main fears we have of AI, especially with AI generated video and images in regards to, like court cases and stuff like that. Normally, you can have like video evidence and audio evidence in a trial as part of evidence that either convicts somebody or sets them free. But now we're looking at, we're looking to a future where we're not going to be able to tell the difference, right? Right now we can still tell the difference between AI and real life stuff. If you listen to the voice sounds like it's kind of talking in a tin can, and it's kind of like blurting out stuff. It doesn't really sound human, and even some of the images, while the images and the video have gotten a lot better since those crazy fresh print, the crazy nightmare fuel videos. It's still not there yet, but we're getting to that point where you're not going to be able to tell them apart, even if you have tools like graphics tools that you're able to see something being AI generated as opposed to it it's going to get to the point where we're not going to be able to believe anything we see, right? Even people who are paying attention to this stuff, even people in the industry who deal with graphics and video and stuff like that. And that is scary. And just think of what the propaganda is going to be then. Yeah, I mean, it's some things, right? Humans are still a work in progress as far as like AI generating, right? Because, I mean, you don't see like the 6 fingers that much anymore. But like in some videos, you can see like in the foreground, the person themselves may be okay, but you'll see in the background, like people walking around, you'll see them kind of appearing and reappearing because the AI can't do that detail back there yet. But it's coming. That shit is coming real soon. So we were going to have, so yesterday I said last week we're going to be talking about Chicago Corner and their response to Hardlands Media setting the record straight. We were going to do it tomorrow, but over the weekend we were going through all this information, and there's so much misinformation that we have to deal with. So we had to postpone it till next week, which is fine. So a week from today... Yeah, so a week from today, we will have members and former members and friends of Chicago Corner on to go through this misinformation, debunk the lies that you've been told by Hardlands Media. And there are a lot of them, folks. There are a lot of them. We're going to sit down. We're going to have links. We're going to have links to all the information that we're going to be talking about in the description. And that's one thing that differentiates us from Hardlands Media. When they tell you stuff that Chicago Corner has been doing, look into the description. Are there any links to any of those documents or any kind of legal proceedings or any kind of documentation that backs up what they're saying? Absolutely not. But we're going to have it for you. We're not trying to tell you how to think. We just want to present the information to you and let you make up your own mind. So, that being said, also, we've got mutual aid for you here. We've got people that desperately need your help, including, if I can do this, hello, why are you doing that? So Wednesday, I believe, on INN, they're doing a fundraiser for Aspen. It's Justice for Aspen. She was arrested in Georgia. She was a passenger in a vehicle. The driver had drugs in the car, and in Georgia, If they arrest the driver for crimes like that, then they get everybody else in the car. So she was caught up in that bullshit. They're trying to raise funds for her. Also, we have the links for all the GoFundMe's in the description down below. So if you can't make it out for the fundraiser on Wednesday, the links are right here. Share those out if you can't donate, because every little bit helps, no matter what you're doing. Our buddy Chanda is dealing with cancer, and that has come back. Her GoFundMe is down below. If you can help her out, you know, she's such a sweet lady. And, you know, I've had family members go through cancer too, and it's just a horrible experience. They can do more things to help now in dealing with cancer, which is great, but it costs money. And just like anything in the medical field, it's a terrible situation for her. So we're thinking about you, Chanda. So if you can help her out, we appreciate that. Our buddy Cowboy Kitty in the chat there, his sister-in-law taken by ICE over some bullshit. I believe they pulled her. She's legal to be here in this country, so she needs funds to help with her legal defense. So if you can help her out too, I'm sorry, Natalia Vichikova. I'm sorry, Cowboy, if I mispronounced her name, but if you could help her out, we appreciate it. Our buddy NoliDee had a devastating fire to her home, and she's looking to raise money too to try and get back on her feet. You know, she's wheelchair bound, and it's very difficult for her to get around without ramps and stuff like that. And in her place, everything just went to shit in a fire. If you could help her out, we appreciate it. And of course, our buddy Kevin over at Black Bear Media had his house burned down. Well, his house burned down in the Eaton fire in Los Angeles this year. You know, so if you could help all these folks out, we appreciate it. You know, they're all our friends here in the space, and we just, you know, it's just I just don't want you to waste your money on somebody else that doesn't need it, whereas these people really, really need your help. So anything you can do to help, I appreciate it. And coming up tomorrow, don't forget, me and Miss Laine are going to be doing the old Undercurrent. She's going to be talking about the K-shaped economy and how the rich people are kind of got richer off of it, and the rest of us just kind of got stuck in the mix. Velchkova, that's how you say it? Velchkova? Okay, thank you. So we're going to be doing that same bat time, same bat channel tomorrow on YouTube and Rumble and Facebook and Instagram as well. And coming up Friday, that's right, it's Halloween night. And I don't know why the lightning didn't work. We'll be screening the Night of the Living Dead. That's going to be our Halloween. Last year we did Nosferatu. That was a fun time. So come on out for that. It's going to be 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific time on my channels on YouTube, Rumble, and the Book of Faces. Should be a fun time if you're into zombies and the dead, as most of you should be. If you're not, I don't know what you're doing with your life. Seriously. Yeah, it is crazy how big that's crazy how big that fire was. That's for sure. No, not the one with Elvis. We had that video on Saturday night on the Secret Shows. Elvis fighting the Night of the Living Dead. See, AI sometimes is fun, but when it comes to crimes and trials and stuff, that's not so much. So finally today, in Texas, of course it's in Texas because everything crazy. If it's not Florida, it's Texas. As Chunkosaurus Rex wins Texas's inaugural Fat Squirrel Week. How dare you? He's got big bones. There he is. Let's see if we can.
Okay, so we all heard of Fat Bear Week. You know, it's just so fun to track all the fat bears hanging out. Well, get ready for Fat Squirrel Week.
Yeah, I'm all in.
My dogs would go nuts for this. Freedom loves squirrels.
So does Ham. Oh,
Oh
no.
my goodness. One day she's going to get a squirrel and I'm not going to know what to do.
Oh, no.
Okay, but now let's talk about this. This past week in Texas, it's known as Fat Squirrel Week, and the goal is to find the fattest squirrel.
Oh my gosh, I love this.
They use a system similar to that of Fat Bear Week with a bracket and people voting, and it came down to the final two. And here's their names. Chunkosaurus Rex versus Chunk Norris.
Oh my gosh.
Can you get
They're both so chubby. I like
Drum
it.
roll. And the winner was Chunkosaurus Rex.
Oh.
His name is cooler, right?
What a competition. Was it a vote situation, I'm assuming, similar to Fat Bear Week, right?
I'm guessing so.
They do the same thing, though. All these animals, right? They're getting ready for winter. They're getting prepared to have a slower eating season.
You gotta have some extra layers.
Yeah,
it's cold around here.
That's what it should be for all of us, right?
Yeah, totally.
We all gotta just get a little bit of extra.
I love that energy because sometimes that extra cushion in the winter, it's nice.
It actually makes a difference. It's like having an extra jacket on.
The squirrels are on to something.
Totally. It's so different than the dog.
Yeah. Making fun of fat squirrels is not a thing. You shouldn't really do that. Come on, y'all. They're big boned, all right? Stop being like that. Oh, so Beauty and the Boomers Halloween special Redux. Oh, yeah. Is there like a storm knocked out their show Saturday night or something like that? So that's 10 p.m. Eastern. Yeah, so that'll be right after us. That'll be a good night for Halloween. If you got nothing better going on that night, stay out of trouble. Watch, don't risk getting apples with razor blades in it. Come on, y'all. Do something safe. Stay home. Watch Night of the Living Dead with us, and then Beauty and the Boomer afterwards. Should be a fun Halloween night. So, like I said, I'll see you tomorrow for the Undercurrent with Miss Laine at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific time. This show will be back on Friday morning at the same time, 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central, 9 a.m. Mountain, 8 a.m. Pacific time on YouTube, Rumble, and the Book of Spaces. Spaces, something like that. It's a book of something. Thanks everybody for hanging out and watching the news. We'll see you again Friday. Have a great day. And as always, watch out for the cults. Use your critical thinking skills. If you want to donate to this show, links are down below as well. If you can share out the links, that would help out as well too. So we will see you Friday. No, actually, I'll see you tomorrow with Laine. We'll be back here on Friday. Peace!
This is City Alpha 5! Woo!